Retirees or pensioners that want to invest their money usually have different goals other than getting rich, and therefore require a different approach. Cheree Hadani, Senior Financial Planner from Pioneer Wealth Management. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
So what is the difference in the approach?
Well, as you so correctly said, the retiree or pensioner is not seeking to get rich. What is of much more importance to him is to preserve the value of his wealth. There are two different kinds of investors in that age group of the golden ages. We have those who have to supplement their income from their investments, and therefore their chief concern is, will the money last me till the end of my days? As opposed to this, you have the wealthy investor who doesn't need to worry about his day-to-day living requirements, and he's investing for the next generation. But in both cases, they have lots of time on their hands, and this means they have lots of time to think and to worry. And the fate of their investments and their assets is of tremendous concern to them. Bearing this in mind, the approach of the advisor should be a particularly empathetic one, patient, with a strong emphasis on reassurance. The investment plan as well should be simple, clear, and easily understood and decisive. In no way do I mean that we should decide for the investor, but we should be decisive in helping the investor to make the decision
their own decisions
himself. Yes.
And what is the difference in the financial strategy?
Well, the financial strategy generally must be much more conservative for obvious reasons for someone of that age. When I say more conservative, less risk. In short, I mean that when we invest, we would have fewer stocks in the portfolio, and even within the stock section, they would be in larger companies and not smaller companies, in developed countries and not developing countries. We would also look at the bonds, and you would say the bonds should really be investment grade, much more solid bonds, whether they're government or they're corporate bonds, and we would stay away from developing countries and high yield bonds. The investment term should be a much shorter term. We have to remember that somebody who from 75 onwards, for him to think long term is a very subjective thing. So if we're talking about long term, 10 years plus, it's very difficult for him psychologically to think of an investment which is 10 years plus. So we're looking rather at a medium-term investment. The investment must be liquid. It should be available, turned into cash at all times. In addition to that, I would say that we have to, very often, the retiree has accumulated numerous assets throughout his life, and he's usually spread these amongst different managers. So much so that he doesn't know where everything is, and he loses control of what he's got and where it is. Therefore, the investment plan should consolidate the investments as far as possible so as to ensure much more efficient management.
And you were talking about the next generation before. How does one can take care of the next generation?
Well, in the first instance, one has to have organization and order in one's assets. One needs to inform the next generation of the nature of those assets and where they are. One should worry about estate planning in good time. The drawing up of a will, in my opinion, is absolutely essential. Because a lack of proper estate planning can cause tremendous friction within families and quite unnecessary anguish.
Are there any obstacles that you think
yes,
that...
Yes, lack of liquidity in an investment is a tremendous obstacle. As I've mentioned before, you want to know that it's available when it has to be available. Also, there might be legal and administrative problems relating to the structure of the investment and the jurisdiction of the investment. By jurisdiction, I mean where that investment is, because in many cases there might be tax implications, inheritance tax, in certain jurisdictions, and one wants to avoid that if possible.
And do you have any tips for those investors?
Yes, well, I would say first and foremost, where there is confusion, we have to get some order, which means that at regular intervals, we need to do a thorough review and analysis of the current assets, of what there is, so we know what there is and where it is. I think it's important, as I say, to keep it liquid and also to have contact people. You must appoint contact people where all the various assets are and let the next generation know who those contacts are. That's very important.
Cheree Hadani, thank you so much.
Thank you.